Hello, everyone. This is Renault, and today we're doing a quick review on Feast or Famine number 2 out of a 3-issue series. The writer is Dave Schwartz, art by Joseph Cooper, and letters by Wes Loker. Before we get started, we say our other hellos. Hello, Joker. Hello, Plastic Plants. I just put my shades in the car. And hello, Feast or Famine number 2. Now, looking at this cover, it's not quite the fake news that the previous cover was. It's alright. Nothing to write home about. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. So we get started with Nikola Tesla. He's having a nightmare. He sees these horrible creatures and these terrifying visions. But when he wakes up, he has a quick conversation with Stein. So he and Stein talk about their preparations, about getting started, and going on the mission. And then they make their preparations, etc., etc. And click, they're off to another world. Now, before going further, I just want to point out that these 3 pages here, here, and here actually should have been at the end of issue number 1. With the whole nightmare vision here. Then talking about the preparations here. And, the pages should have been flipped around a little bit. Because then it would be foreshadowing of a bad situation. If this nightmare sequence was in this book, it would have been a nice cliffhanger. Don't get me wrong. This isn't a bad cliffhanger, but I think the nightmare vision and foreboding would have been a little bit more connected. And because also, this is a little bit of a review of this. And coming back on this later, I've actually read ahead. This sequence about having bad dreams. They're both having bad dreams, but he's not letting on how bad it was. Anyway, I just think some switching around of the pages could have been done to help the story flow a little bit better. Anyway, they're off to adventure. Let's see, just a second. Is this the page I wanted to flip to? Not quite. I am going to skip some pages, though. Just a second. Okay, so here's where I wanted to flip to, but I didn't have a bookmark there. They go to another area. They're a little bit disoriented, and after getting their bearings... Oh, hold on. After getting their bearings, they're immediately assaulted by a new creature. This is a pretty common trope about space. You saw it with Star Trek, not Into the Darkness, but the one by J.J. Abrams when Kirk got jettisoned onto the planet. He was immediately attacked by a creature, and then that creature got attacked by another creature. So that's what's happening here. They're getting ambushed by these anthropomorphic, well, not anthropomorphic, but these bear-like creatures. Stein is injured. He's attacked. He falls. He eventually becomes incapacitated. But Nikola Tesla and Stein wind up being rescued because they did get teleported to the correct area. Now I'm going to switch to that now. And so they're transported to the city. Again, I'm not a huge fan of the overabundance of purple hues. It's kind of a played out color palette. But anyway, And it is finally a nice little payoff here when they get to the futuristic city and they're being helped by the drones. These are the drones here in the jetpack. He's unconscious. Actually, it's hard to tell that he's unconscious because, you know, his arms are not limp. It's as if he's just flying along. Little art correction there. Anyway, they meet up. They see all the alien creatures. It is pretty disorienting. It's amazing. And here's what I do like. Nikola Tesla is constantly inquiring about the well-being of Stein. Eventually, they take Stein away. Zoom! That's Stein in a chair. Zoom! And Tesca's going after them. But she's like, hey, don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all good. So they take him away. And he's like, we're going to help you out. And I don't have a problem with the names being dropped here. This is the character Viride or Viride, possibly. And then he meets with the doctor, Reticula. But it's kind of a head fake because these characters in the end don't really matter. But they make it seem like they do. It's kind of a bluff or misdirection. So Nikola Tesla also needs medical attention just because he's in an alien world, etc., etc. They say he's gotten a concussion. They're going to take care of him. You know, they put him under. Nikola Tesla immediately has another nightmare. Anyway, let me skip a couple of pages. And they meet General Buck Gordon. This is a pretty cool design. Buck Gordon goes over and tells them the history of their planet. So what happened to their history is actually pretty cool. They faced... Now you can see that they're an advanced race, but they got an unexpected disaster. Instead of just crashing into their moon, the moon got kind of obliterated, and then the destruction rained down on the planet. It killed almost everything. It destroyed their atmosphere over time, and so they had to live in cities. The cities collapsed. And so they've been sending out these signals to other civilizations to try and attract help. But here's for me where the story kind of started falling apart. For 6 months, we've been secretly sending out distress signals for any life form to come to our aid. And so it turns out that they need raw materials. But my problem is that this kind of doesn't make sense, at least not to me. If they needed raw materials and resources, why didn't they just fly out into space and get them? Because it would be a much bigger hassle to bring in aliens, hope that the aliens are friendly. And another thing that doesn't kind of make sense is Earth in the late 1880s was very primitive. They only reached out to humanity by sheer happenstance and luck. But even humanity would not necessarily be able to help them in our primitive state. So this story kind of falls apart. So after telling the story, Nikola Tesla and Stein finally meet up again. Stein is doing great. Nikola Tesla agrees to help them. But here's one thing I do like. He says, we need to spend some time to just discuss the issue. He's like, yeah, whatever. He lets them alone to speak. So over the page, though, I do like that Tesca is suspicious about their story. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. The aliens are not suspicious of these humans. They don't ask where these humans came from. There are certain questions when meeting a new alien life form that they just didn't ask. So eventually they go back and forth, and they agree to help. They're going to help the aliens save their planet. No worries. Let's skip a couple more pages, or one page. So they're off. They're off to save. They're going to go off. They're going back to the teleporter location because they do kind of need to go to the same vicinity so that they can transport back to the transporter. And here's another thing that doesn't quite make sense. Tesca is saying, oh, we need to make sure the device is properly calibrated. And I just need to make sure that the key works, etc., etc. He's like, come on, we don't have time for that. Well, I mean, you're doing intergalactic space travel. You have time. So he can't wait. And you can see that everything changes here. Stein retrieved the key from Tesca for the teleportation device. Yes, sir. And this was not entirely unexpected. Stein was a bit too accepting of just the narrative, whereas Tesca had, normal human doubts. Now, it's also possible that they may have done something to Stein. It's possible that when they were sending out the monitors from the previous issue, they were sending out these monitors and they never returned, you might recall. And it could be that they were actually retrieved and they used that to gather information about Earth, and that's why they didn't ask so many questions. But we'll see how that goes. I don't want to judge based on unanswered questions until the series is over. I did that with Trespasser, and it turns out some of those questions did eventually get answered. So Stein is attacking Nikola Tesla. And so they've overpowered him. He breaks the key, but the key is easily repaired because they do have some advanced technology. And so they're like, okay, you're all going to join us. Stein has joined us. And now it's time for you to join us. Dun dun dun. Again, the twist wasn't entirely unexpected. I had my doubts for kind of the same reason that Nikola Tesla had his doubts. Yeah. Anyway, overall, that was issue 2. I would give it, like a 7.5 out of 10. I can't stand the color palette. I'm just so tired of the purple and other pastels. It does actually start to take away or draw me out or take me out of the story a little bit. And also the whole 1880s technology communicating with aliens is a bit too far-fetched. It's just not quite doing it for me, gotta admit, but gotta keep an open mind. Anyway, hit that like button, and thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.